I will tell you this. I have a history of getting stopped in the airport.
Oh, from the podcast?
Nope. Nope. Not in podcast.
Or from what?
I frequently get chosen for a random search.
Oh, sorry. I totally misread that.
Yeah. And
I'm like, you're doing very well.
not yet from that standpoint, but I have quite the selfie collection
Yeah.
of being randomly stopped. I don't know if I've ever met somebody, you know, some of my friends, all the jokes that come along with that are they must think you're sketchy or you look stiff.
Absolutely.
And my wife even had a friend that is on the no-flight list. I had another friend this year. I got on the no-flight. They got to go to the airport hours ahead, you know, and they loosely throw around the term, you know, terrorism.
Yeah.
My understanding for you, I've never really met somebody that's been associated with it.
I've been frontline newspaper. I've had my name connected with terrorism, frontline newspaper. Yeah. Pretty wild.
How on earth would someone in a field
Sure.
that you're in, I don't want to like cover too much on, you know, but like,
Yeah.
how does that happen? I'm the butt of a joke.
Yes.
That happens because I get stopped by TSA. You were actually on the newspaper.
I was investigated by the FBI. So the way that it worked was this, is that this is weeks after 9/11. So the state of mind of the country was in a frenzy to begin with. So they're already worked up and freaked out about terrorism and looking at every little thing. I am a physical therapy student. I'm in my last year. I'm a graduate student. I have a study partner, and we are studying creatine. It's one of the first studies of creatine that were ever published. At the time, they didn't know if creatine was actually effective.
Yeah.
Which is funny because now it's like all the rage.
Okay, so we're inside the last 20 years.
Oh yeah, this is 2001.
Yeah.
So it's weeks after 9/11, and we finish our study, and everything wraps up that night. For our last night of study, I have one rotation, and then I'm going to graduate if I pass my boards. And so I go in that night thinking I'm going to be able to sleep in the next day. Everything's going to be great. And I wake up the next day to an FBI call. And it was a very nice person on the phone. It was just like, hey, why don't you come down here? Something's happened at the university. Should I be worried? No, you're fine. Just come on down. It's going to be very friendly, very non-threatening, which was very intentional, I realized. And so I go down there, and it was a crime scene. The entire medical building, which was off campus, was roped off with yellow tape. And it was all like helicopters in the air, media everywhere, fire trucks. And I walk up to the barricade, and the guy's like, get out of here. You have no business being here. And I said, I'm so sorry. I was asked to be here. My name is Will Humphreys. And he went to his receiver and said, I've got him. Grabs me, rushes me in, stopped at the door because hazmat people are coming out. And then I'm rushed down and I'm interrogated by the FBI. It took me hours to piece together from their questioning what was even going on. But yeah, I mean, I was suspended. I was investigated by the FBI and the district attorney for 48 hours, and the case was dropped. It was that ridiculous. But the country was such in a frenzy that by then I made all the local and newspaper and television, you know, the news channels. So the university put me on trial for 12 months, where I had to, I was suspended pending potential expulsion for, first it was being associated with Al-Qaeda and terrorist activities to promote anthrax. That was the whole thing. So my study was on creatine or white powder. It was knocked over the next morning when we were done, when the janitor came to clean it all up, knocks over this white powder. The white powder bags are all labeled either creatine or sugar. And so but he doesn't know English. So he calls 911, introduced the craziness. And so I end up fighting for my license as a physical therapist for my last year of school, when I should have been taking my boards and working. And yeah, man, that was a real education on how people's mindsets really influence how they think and choose what they want to see. I was guilty till proven innocent in the community eye. I couldn't go outside. Grocery stores, people would yell at me. So yeah, it was one of those. It was a really interesting year for sure. And I learned a lot.
How long had you been in school?
So this was my 7th year. So 4 years of undergraduate. This is my 3rd year graduate work.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that. I didn't know it would be that long, but I assumed it would be roughly 4 years or more.
Yeah.
But I've yet to find the guest in some form of entrepreneurship in creating some or generating some form of wealth, that's some sort of roadblock, speed bump, blindsided, and this would probably fall more on the blindside category than speed bump, but you've got to be looking at 7 years of dedication, work to get to a certain point, and you're looking at it as possibly being a race.
Exactly.
Where's your mindset right there?
Man, during those years, it was confusion, depression. Why is this happening? How is this happening? It was a whole year of me realizing that what I dreamed to do was going to possibly flush down the toilet in a way that was like not my fault. It felt very much like a victim. And yeah, man, it was terrifying, especially when for a period of time, I mean, it was very short lived, but there was a couple of days where I'm like, am I going to jail for this? And I don't even know exactly what happened. So to think that my 7 years of study were going to be flushed down the toilet. And I wasn't just like excited about becoming a PT. I was dreaming of becoming a PT. It's all I ever wanted to do. Because in high school, I had suffered a mountain climbing accident where I broke both arms and legs in a free fall. And I had a physical therapist really get me back on my feet. So ever since my senior year, where I was learning to walk again, I was like, this is all I ever want to do. And here it is about to go away. So it was very terrifying. Absolutely scary.
So what do you do to change the shift of, victim, why is this happening to me, to flipping the switch to maybe I can go create something out of this or get past it?
Being so young at the time, I was probably 26 when this was all happening to me. So I wasn't very intentional about my thought process on this, but I did get a front row seat to learning that lesson through other people. And here's what I mean. For that 12-month period, I'm going into these boardrooms where it's basically a jury. It's all university professors who are randomly selected. The first thing the guy says who's in charge of it is like, what you've done is a disgrace. What we're trying to determine isn't that you've done wrong. It's what we're trying to determine is how intentional, how much damage there is, and how much you're going to pay for this. There was never an opportunity for me to state my own case. And so the only thing I could do was provide character witnesses. And that is where the magic happened for me. This is where the lesson was, because I had to ask my friends' parents, religious leaders, you name it, people, other professors to come like testify as like, Will's a good guy. This is nothing he would do. And you're wrong, essentially. That was the only case I could provide. I was never afforded an opportunity to really state a case as much as state my character. And so what was interesting is there was so much media on this. A lot of people told me no. Like family, friends were like, I don't want to be part of this, no offense. Like they were so afraid of
not even writing a letter or
nothing.
Wow.
Other people agreed to be there, and then when they were very passive about it. Like, yeah, do I think he's capable of doing this? I don't think so. And I'm just like, these are like trusted professors and friends. I was shocked, but then on the extreme other side, I got to see people who really took a stand for me. And this is where the magic was. It was one of the professors who later became director, Horetta Dillon. She stood up and went, this is a joke. You guys should be ashamed of yourself. Not only is he not guilty of anything wrong, you guys are the ones who are diverting your guilt of how you handle this whole like media circus. So she like laid into them, and that does something to you. One of my friend's parents, her name is Heather Merritt. She's this quiet, frail, thin, very kind. She laid into them. She's like, I've known this boy since he was born. If you think for a second that I'm going to sit here and let you even, but just like, it wasn't even they were taking a stand. It was this like bold stance for what was right and honest and true.
Fighting.
And when you see someone fighting. When I saw someone fighting for me, it changed me, because by the end, I wasn't a victim. My closing statement was me standing up and going, I'm a different person. Thank you for this opportunity. And let me tell you why this whole thing's a sham, and why you guys should be ashamed of yourselves. Like I was able to find that courage. I found in those early months questioning if maybe I did something wrong and didn't even know about it. Like, did I do something that was just neglectful that caused all this? Surely I deserve this somehow. And that was a big shift. I didn't deserve it at all.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What are the next few months to transition look like after you get cleared? It's kind of rebuild time. People are still maybe looking at you a little funny, and maybe people are apologizing for who they're being with you during that time.
Yeah, no one's ever apologized. Right? And honestly, they don't need to. They have my forgiveness. I don't know what that was like for them. I don't know what's going on in their world. But the next few months, it took me years to talk about the event. So the next few months, I finalized my last rotation. I was so nervous going into that.
Original school, you need to transfer.
No, so here's how it ended. I forgot to mention the big conclusion. So after a year, the man said, the guy who was in charge of the trial, there was 4 other teachers there. He stands up and he says, "We stand by what we said, that you acted outside of our university policy. And the time that you've served as a suspended student will qualify as your punishment. And this will not be recorded on your transcript in any way, shape, or form. There will not be any evidence." I mean, that was to me really weird. At the time, it felt like a miracle. Like, oh, this is over. I'm going to graduate and everything's going to be okay. That really seemed unreal to me. But what I realized later with the help of a lawyer was yeah, they were covering their tail, because they had acted in a way to where I could have sued the university for putting me through this experience for no evidence being that I was. So at the time, I was just so excited to be free. I just moved on. So I started my rotation. I finished the rotation through the university and graduated. Had to apply for my state licensure in Arizona because there was no jobs in Texas, where I'm from. And I had to disclose the entire experience. So that was really traumatizing, having to provide hundreds of pages of documentation how I was suspended for an FBI investigation for suspected terrorism associated with 9/11, by the way. And so I submit these papers to the state board. I found out later the state board president is now a friend of mine, Helene Fearon. She's the type of amazing human that read that whole thing and thought it was hysterical and easily let me become a PT. And so, yeah, it was awesome.
Tell me the financial upside you saw in seeking out being a PT, because you alluded to what the motivation for the why. Someone had a great impact on your life, helping you recover. Where did you see the monetary gain of being a PT?
Well, this is the ironic thing. I'm very entrepreneurial, but I knew the industry I was getting into, and I didn't think there was a huge upside to becoming a PT financially. I remember telling my wife, listen, we will always be comfortable but not rich, but I'll always be happy because I'll do what I love. And I was wrong on all of those fronts. I had no idea how hard it was going to be an entrepreneur, because I couldn't help it own my own practice. I didn't realize how hard that was going to be. But that journey also opened up the door financially in some ways that I was shocked was even capable in our industries.
I'm glad you said that, because I've got a bone to pick with the education system around prepping specialized trades into being business owners.
Me too, James.
Yeah, it's an issue I had. It's like, man, it's just spent 7 years with you, 14 years with you. We couldn't go over marketing, bookkeeping, triple net leases, those kind of things. But I have a trade, and now what? And I've got the skill set, and now what? So how did you overcome that?
Yeah, so the story there is really interesting, because I start my practice. Within a year, I started my own business and was so passionate and excited about being a PT. I was ready to run fast. My wife and I started having kids, and it became so hard, so fast. For 2 years, this is uncommon for healthcare providers, or maybe most specialists. You actually don't have a hard time getting business. Like in healthcare, people are sick, they need your help. But in our world, everything else around that, hiring, training, retaining, in the healthcare world, insurance, how do you bill them insurance? How do you collect? How do you fight the insurance, which is a suppressive organization to begin with? And then how do you even know how to measure how you're doing financially? All those things you mentioned, they didn't. So it was really hard. And so after 3 years, I got to the point where I was literally suicidal. I didn't want to live, because I was working 7 days a week, horrible hours, exhausted.
What you wanted to do. This is what you love.
Totally. It was the moment it all shifted for me. I can remember. Do you want to hear the exact moment it shifted?
Please.
It was It was exactly in 2008, days before Christmas. I was treating in my clinic, and I had a few employees at the time. And it was one of those good days where, the holiday season, people are in good moods, patients all showed up, all my employees showed up. I used to say to my wife, it's a good day because everyone actually showed up. And everyone showed up. Everything was going good. And then my part-time CFO, John, walks in. And he just looks like death. Like he had seen death. He's like, Will, I need to talk to you. Can we get step off the floor? I go into the office. He sits down. And he looks me in the eye and he goes, I don't know how to tell you this, but you've got $5,000 left and $10,000 of bills. Which bills do you want to pay? And what are you to do for payroll in 2 weeks? I didn't even know how we got there. There's a long story behind that. But I remember driving home that night and it was pitch black. My clinic was in Florence, Arizona, and I'm driving to Gilbert. And I'm just in shock. Like, what am I going to do? We haven't bought Christmas gifts yet. Should I even buy presents for my kids? And I'm driving home in the desert. It's pitch black, and my car is beeping at me. Just beeping at me because there were so many patient notes for me to still do in the seat next to me that my car thought there was a human being sitting next to me. And so I had to pull over the desert and buckle in my charts because I still had hours of work to do. And so I drive home, and as I was driving home, I had this pivotal realization. This was the opposite reason why I became an entrepreneur. Why I became a physical therapist. I wanted to increase my income, my impact, and my freedom. And here I am, a slave to my business. And by the way, the most invalidated human being. I didn't think I was worth anything because I can't even provide for my kids doing what I love. So what is this about? And I went home that day. I walked in the door. My wife saw me, was smiling, and saw me, and she stopped smiling. She had seen the face before. Okay, honey, go lay down. Like, she already knew the routine. Honey, go lay down. It's going to be okay. She didn't even know what was going on. I go around the corner. My oldest son, Ethan, at the time, is a kid. He pulls on my pant leg. He's like, Dad, do you want to play Skylanders? I go, sorry, Dad's not feeling good. I need to go lay down. And as I was walking away, I heard this. And I'll never forget this. He goes, I'm so sorry you're feeling sick again, Daddy. Again. Like the again echoed in my mind as I went and laid down. And it was when I was laying there that I realized it was time for me to take another stand. Going back to my UTEP days when I was being investigated. It's like, I'm not taking a stand for my family, my profits, my impact, my freedom. Like, I have to do something else around this. And that was the moment it all changed for me. And since that time frame, as you know, clinic went from 1 to 5 locations. I've started 3 multi-million-dollar businesses since that time frame. And I have, I believe, an ideal life around my balance in my business. So that was the moment it all shifted for me.
What do you say to somebody in the last year of school that has an entrepreneurial itch to help prepare them for what the next 3 years could look like?
Thank you. That's a great question. So the first thing is to scratch the itch. We need entrepreneurs. And stories like mine aren't, I'm sure your show is filled with these types of stories. It's worth it. It's going to be worth it. And no matter what we choose, it's going to be hard. Truly. Like, it's hard to get in shape and diet and exercise, but it's also hard to be out of shape and require medication. We get to choose the hard. I will choose the entrepreneurial hard every time because it ultimately results in me having the freedom I want. But more important than that, James, the process of learning how to do that, learning how to become the right leader, made me a better father, a better husband. So it's a lot to it, but just the first thing is to scratch the itch. The second thing I would say is to get a mentor or coach immediately. I've never not had one. Brandon Craig, huge influence in my life personally and professionally. One of a handful of just really powerful people who've influenced me. I've always had a coach, always will have a coach. The third thing is to find a community. Always find a community where you can network. Your network is your net worth. And then lastly, never, ever give up. To me, that's the most important piece because some people are more naturally entrepreneurial than others. I'm naturally entrepreneurial, but I'm not a natural leader. I organically suck at leading. It's just true. I'm a people pleaser middle child that just wants everyone to be happy all the time. That's not a great leader. But if I can do it literally, and I can, and it's this idea that, like, what does not getting up look like? Well, it looks like listening to shows like this. It looks like reading that book that you've kind of out there calling to you, like, damn, maybe this is important. But most importantly, it's never stopping, because it's all hard. But the people who never give up are the ones who succeed. Yeah. So I believe that the greatest leader in any room is the person who loves the most. And that sounds really like flowery and like not really tactical, but here's what I mean. The person in that room who's willing to confront because they truly care about their team. And here's my proof. Whenever people challenge me on that, I say, okay, let's talk about the most influential leaders in your life. It's always someone that loved them. A parent, a grandparent, a mentor, someone that just poured into them. It looks like love. It looks like service. And the reason I say it in that distinct way is because I think it takes a lot of love to let someone go the right way. It takes a lot of love to take a stand for your business. And it all comes down to love. So as emotional as that is, there's no greater way of being than being someone who loves hard and someone who's able to serve from a place of caring of others.
Well, I like that you said love hard, because where that could sound like rainbows and flowers and the person of a... Have you ever heard of a coach that's getting on a player? Yeah, coach is always on me. They're always giving me a hard time. So, and a coach could say, hey, the second I stop is when you should be worried. When I must push on you because I believe in you, I expect more from you, I see it in you, we need you as the team. Doesn't mean he's pulling you aside, putting his arm and saying, I love you. But no, like, yeah, they're having an impact on you. And I imagine everyone has a different way of showing love or care for somebody. And that could be in a little bit more of a coaching setting, aggressive setting, or that could just be in time spent, a listening ear or whatever that may be. But I could subscribe to that concept.
Yeah, James, it's powerful because, the concept is that, this isn't me. I forgot which coaching group this was. This was one of the many influences I've had, but this is a commonly adopted concept, is that when we as leaders, take the word love out, as leaders, to help bring the best out of people, which to me is how you define love. But anyway, is that we either support or challenge them. So we all have different leadership styles. Some of us over challenge. We're football coaches and Marines, and some of us, what does that do? It overwhelms, it minimizes by accident. If we over support, then we soften. We don't allow people to strengthen themselves. We enable them to not be successful. So for all of us in all of our relationships, that balance between support and challenge is leadership, like at its highest definition. But that whole thing just looks like, because for me, the way I access when it's time to challenge or support as a parent, and this is how it translates into my teams that I've built, is that it looks like love. Yeah, if I really care about that person, let's not call it love. If I let's call it massive amounts of concern and empathy for their ultimate success. If I really want to be successful, what do they need right now? Well, they need clarity. They need someone to singe their eyebrows, to get in their face and go, I believe in you, but you have to want this more than anyone else. So get your crap together and go get it done. That can be love. It's all about who I'm being in that place, right? Or it can be like, dude, don't be so hard on yourself. Try again. You can do it. I believe in you. Arm around, quiet. It's support, challenge. But in the end, when I am accessing the love I feel for others, and I'm not being selfish, which is hard for me, that's when I'm powerful. And that's why I say that.
I'm curious about your mentor, coach of some sort.
Yeah.
You mentioned Brandon, and Brandon has had an impact on a lot of people that way. But Brandon hadn't ran a PT business before.
Sure.
Or funds or whatever it may be. What do you have about finding a coach that's doing exactly what you want to do versus somebody with just life experience?
It's all good. It truly is. I would even say that it's important to learn from as many coaches and mentors as possible without making it a full-time job. I got so obsessed at one point, James, with my journey, because although I had one coach tell me, he's like, you're not very naturally gifted as a leader, but you are very coachable and trainable. And it's true. I think for me, if I had a superpower, it's that I am easily impressed in a good way.
Yeah.
And so one time I had 4 coaches at the same time, and I don't recommend that, because that's like a full-time job just learning. But, I've had coaches in the PT space, huge, very, very influential. I put Brandon at the top of those lists, even though he's not a PT, because leadership is like water. It fills every vessel. So at the end of the day, leadership is that rising tide. If we can develop ourselves as leaders, if we can sharpen ourselves. What I told Brandon after the first conference I went to of his, I said, I feel like a hot knife ready to cut through butter. And I went back statistically after that first event, and my statistics showed that I was. It's like, and there's just, so it doesn't have to, the thing I would say is that you want to look for coaches who have done the thing that you're wanting to do, or have helped others do the thing that they're wanting to do, or have shown that they can create an impact in leadership in a way that feels transformative. If you can find one of those three, to pursue it, because they are going to elevate your game as you're coachable and take action. That's the only caveat. Yeah. I've got a lot of friends who spent a lot of money on coaching and are like, nothing works. Like, yeah, it's because you can go to church and get inspired and go back and keep living your life the same. It requires the implementation is where the river meets the road, right?
Yeah. I went to an event last night, and it was an entrepreneurial event. We invested in the company, as a dear friend, and he started getting hit up after he sold his company for guidance, mentorship, coaching. He just thought, man, I'm going to do this in bulk, and he started something called the 1% Club, and we sponsored an event last night. And part of my team and I going there would be to network, look at new prospects of clients, look at potential businesses to lend to or invest in or whatever it may be. My favorite conversation last night were these two 17-year-olds.
Tell me about it.
And they were just hungry. Like you talk about, like, on fire. They just wanted to learn. They were there they wanted to be professional, yet, like, part of the thing that attracted me to spending more time with them was they just wanted to go conquer the world.
Yeah.
And, I give you a similar advice. Like, if you can just have the simplicity of seeing somebody do what you want to do and having the belief that you could also do it, that, they're not some savant, they didn't just get lucky or whatever it may be, but it's possible, so I could do it too. It's really amazing. And I am thinking somebody listening right now, what he's saying, to go get a coach or a mentor. And I think that a lot of people are trying to figure out how.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a two-part question.
Please do.
If someone wanted to get time from you or guidance from you, what would you think would be the most useful approach to getting some form of guidance or mentorship from you?
That's a great question. And I've had that happen a number of times, especially in the PT space, the students who are coming up, who listen to my podcast, that type of thing, they're wanting to learn more. And so honestly, I haven't ever seen a negative way of approaching it. I've seen people reach out on LinkedIn. The more personal, the better. Looking to reach out. Hey, it always starts with acknowledgement. When someone reaches out through an email, is probably the least effective way. But when I've seen emails, it's been like, hey, I heard your episode. I'm really looking for help in this space. I'm looking for a mentor. I would never ask them directly, like, hey, would you be my mentor? Especially if you don't know them. Just like, hey, I'm looking just for some guidance. Do you know of people that I can talk to that might be able to help me? And whatever. And ultimately, like, for me, since I get a frequent, request like that, I have, different free resources. I reach out to people, but once in a while I'll bring on a mentee. And the way that they usually show up is someone who's just constantly, usually I'll start an email. I'll send them a book and go, here's a book, read it, and then let me know your thoughts. When they read the book and get back to me and they're like, here are my thoughts. Like, okay. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to waste my time. A lot of people feel like high levels of motivation in short amount of time, and they'll like reach out for mentorship, but they're not really committed.
Yeah.
The people who are committed are the ones who find the mentors. It's like, give me any grain of information to do and I'll go do it. Showing that kind of commitment will usually, anyone who has a heart, I think, would be like, sure, let's keep talking then. Even if it's asynchronously, even if it's once in a while, or maybe they have a community you could join, a free community, a paid community, whatever it takes to get close to that person, right?
I've got a couple. We released a video that essentially took us through a day of mine, and I would get these DMs. Hey, will you be my mentor?
Yeah.
And it's just that, and it's a DM on social media. It's coming through in a way that I need to accept or request, deny the message. And I don't want to harp on them from a standpoint of ineffectiveness. Just I think this could be a useful way of helping people do that. And I want to go up by this at college. I thought about last night's conversation. Like, why did I spend the night, like we donated or invested, whatever you'd like to call it, to be a title sponsor at this event.
Yeah.
The objective is to go make that worthwhile spend, as well as supporting a friend. But like, why did I spend the most time with, I think it would be fair to say, maybe the least qualified clients, at the event. And I think that there's something about wishing I had more people that would just give me their time freely at an early age, or maybe an extreme gratitude for those that did.
Yeah.
And some form of reciprocity to give back. And I think that people have that on their side.
Yeah.
And if they can just be a little bit more intentional around approaching someone with why you would think to reach out to them. Hey, will you, can I pick your brain? Man, can you just give a little bit more effort there? I watched a piece of your content. Somebody told me about your story. Hey, I listened to your episode. Right from there, what you said about this had this impact over here. I would appreciate greatly if I could do anything to spend a little bit of time with you. Is that buying you lunch? Is that following you around for a little bit? Like, what would be most useful to you right now to create time, or something that just give a little bit more.
Yeah, because you're giving them like options and but you're starting with like acknowledgement. I think it always begins with acknowledgement. Hey, thank you for this. It's really, why are you reaching out to be a mentee in the first place, right? Like, I love that you had that person just be like, yeah, thank you. That really made an impact on me.
Yeah, and help. Why are you calling me? Oftentimes, so many people sitting in that seat right there have self-proclaimed, I'm not the most educated, I wasn't the most talented, or whatever it may be. But yeah, help it out, help the process. And in the efficiency of time, I don't mean to go on a rant from here.
Oh, I love it.
But oftentimes, in my world, people are asking for money and or some form of time. And I will get 5 messages before the ask comes. Hey, how you been? Oh yeah, how are the kids? It's going well. It's like, okay, I know it's coming. Like, here we go. Like, wanted to talk to you, and last text was 2021. Or whatever it may be, and then the ask comes, and I want to mention that because there's a form of efficiency that will create efficiency, I believe. Like, they will match your tone. Hey, James, it's been a long time. We haven't connected. I saw something that made me think of you. I'm actually working on a really cool project. By the way, I hope you and the family are well. I've seen your kids. Do that. I'm looking for this. Like, you can be really efficient and powerful to generate a useful response. And I want to create this content to give somebody some tools to go out and do it. As much as, we want to, hey, let's hear the Will story today.
Yeah, right.
What helped you? What served you in there? And yeah, I think that's really useful. Like, if you can just go and spend more time around people that are doing it, which is a small group of people, but you want to be careful who you take your advice from.
I agree. I think there's a mindset around the whole thing too that is such a difference. As you were talking to, I was able to reflect a little bit deeper into that question as you were giving the examples of scenarios that worked for you. And it was the idea that like the people I'd spent more time with, for me, are usually the ones who have been more consistent in communicating without asking. My kids have asked me, what's the single greatest business advice you could ever give? And now I'm coaching, my sons who are starting businesses. And I tell them, it's your network equals your net worth. But I don't mean that as like a transactional thing. Like, I'm not saying the more people you know, the more money you make. It means the more people you serve, the more opportunities will organically come your way. And it's so true, because the people in my life who I spent more time with are people who are legitimately like, hey, I believe in what you're doing and I appreciate what you're doing. How can I help you? It starts from a sincere place of like trying to be a go-giver. And when people get networking out of mix is because they think of it as transactional, like, who should I talk to that can help my business? That's the wrong way to approach it. It's like, if you're connecting with something, so right now I have some coaches and mentors who are decently known, and I started by supporting their products, by buying their I think that's how I was supporting them. I was like, hey, I bought this, and I would let them know in their social medias, hey, I bought this thing, I applied it, here was my response. I was never doing it from a place of like, one day I'm going to coach with you. I've just been trained through my experience of, I'm always building my network from a place of how can I help and serve. LinkedIn every day. I'll do a post, and here's just coming. I'll do it's called a gratitude post. I have no like tactical reason for doing it other than just expressing gratitude. I'll find someone who's made an impact in my day or week. I'll highlight them on LinkedIn, talk about an experience or something that I've seen from them. And those posts crush. And my social media team is behind the scenes going like, you need to do more of those posts. I'm like, no. This isn't a tactic. It's a go-giver mindset that if I start making it a tactic, I'm going to screw it up. I want to be go-giver. So in those moments, that has opened the doors for me to mentorship more than anything else. True story. I had Vern Harnish, who wrote the book, Scaling Up. He started Entrepreneurial Organization, the largest networking organization in the world. He didn't know me from Adam. I was feeling grateful for him one day. I just posted, I was like, hey, I want to thank Vern Harnish for this book he wrote. I tagged him, I tagged the book. If you haven't read it, I feel like Scaling Up is the book business Bible that's out there. There's a lot of information. I use them for years. I can't tell you how much it changed my life. He personally reached out to me. Was like, that really meant a lot to me. But thank you. He's like, can I feature your business in an upcoming magazine article that we produced? I'm like, sure. Like those kinds of moments always come on the back end of like leadership and servant leadership, as is what I'm saying specifically. So if people are looking for mentorship, there's nothing wrong in needing and wanting that kind of piece. But like, I like how you approached it, James, and just be concise and to the point about it, but be a human being too. And if you're in the act of constantly going out and serving and supporting, then when the ask comes, it doesn't land like taking. It looks like, hey, I really could use your help from someone who sincerely appreciates you.
Yeah.
I think we're always more open to helping those people, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that you can feel when someone is authentically looking to serve or add value. I don't know how to, I wouldn't want that to look transactional either. Like, why are you doing this? What's in it for you? Sometimes you could just feel when someone, and I do think at times it's okay. If someone were to come to me and say, hey, I want to spend some time with you. And oh, by the way, I got a rich uncle. Like, if it would be valuable, like, I'd love to connect you guys.
Yeah.
And I don't know really what to say for you or him other than I could, like, you do something with money and he's got a lot of it and would love to connect you. And it's just like, even just the thought that you would think to show some form of gratitude or the term reciprocity, whatever it may be, I think you can just feel it. And there's some momentum that comes from it. And right now I see that is the most useful solution for somebody specializing right now.
Yeah.
To get some guidance coming out of formal education.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, so if someone's coming out of formal education, they're thinking, how do I get mentor? It's like, just start being consistently following up. From a sales perspective too, James, that's fortune is into follow up. A lot of times when we get the single DM saying, hey, can you mentor me? But what if that was like, hey, I know I reached out about you mentoring me. I haven't heard back. That's okay. Listen, how about a book? Do you have a book I can recommend? Like, it's the fortune is in the follow-up. Literally, the statistics on this, on sales, are hysterical because usually from the point of contact to time of close, 80% of the closes occur 6 months after the initial point of contact. So in between, how much we don't want to spam people either. But I will tell you that, like, in my experience, when I'm with other people who are in this, the most successful people I network with, I had a call today. True story. I got a common friend of mine reached out on LinkedIn and said, hey, Will, I want you to meet Kim. He has a business similar to yours. I thought you guys would like to know each other. That kind of connection, Paul, I know my friend Paul, he's just trying to create value for both of us. He's got nothing he's trying to get out of it. So Kim reaches out, hey, well, I'd love to get together. I said, sure. We jump on a call. He has multiple multimillion-dollar businesses. He lives out of San Diego. This was 2 hours ago. In our 30-minute call, it was like, tell me about your business. Tell me about your family. Like, we just know the routine, and it sounds transactional and it sounds systematic, but it's not. It's just efficient. We know our time is limited. We want to make maximum connection and service and serve and help each other in the least amount of time. Go-givers only need to spend time with go-givers, period. And I could feel it right at the beginning. I'm like, well, here's my business and here's my family. Tell me about yours. And I just said at the end, I'm like, well, what can I do to help you? And he's like, well, here's what I'm working on. I said, oh, I could help you with this. He goes, oh, and I gave him some information. I emailed him some stuff on the back end. He asked me some similar questions. I came up with some ideas. And it was just like within a 30-minute phone call, my business shifted. I mean, enough significantly to be like, holy crap, 30 minutes. So when we're in that mindset, and then, I'm gonna do a LinkedIn message to thank him, not because it's the next step in my system, but because I love this guy. He's just freaking cool. And I do those LinkedIn posts because of what it does for me. I wake up as a human being every day who's super scared about the future, worried about money. I mean, maybe some guys get to that point where they don't do that, but that's not me. I wake up super scarcity mindset, super like afraid of things. When I start going into gratitude, it's just like, oh, I'm powerful. I can figure anything out. It's about me trying to serve other people, but really about me just trying to do the right thing for myself as well, like getting to that mindset, right? So
yeah, you said I can figure it out, and I think that there's you can call it a gene or a screw loose in entrepreneurs that have this concept of like I'm gonna just figure it out, like it'll work out. Optimism, perseverance, certainly. You said a couple of things around multiple businesses.
yeah,
So I understand scale, and from a standpoint of different branches, but in a specialty, that's another unique form of scale. You're not performing
physical therapy.
in 5 different locations or whatever it may be. You're starting to provide a landing place for someone else, and now you've got a few other multiple businesses. How? Well, I'll tell you what I could hear.
Please.
That could seem overwhelming. That could seem juice. That could seem spread thin.
Yeah.
Someone's got a core business right now, and he's looking to expand outside of their core business.
Yes.
Can you give him anything?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a big lesson. I'm glad you asked the question, because this is like $1 million answer to me losing millions of dollars over the years on this piece. So entrepreneurs are very squirrel oriented. Yeah. Like the next opportunity, that kind of thing. We have to keep the main thing. And what that means is there's only one constraint in our business at any given time. This is Dr. Benjamin Hardy from Scaling Up and, Who Not How and 10X is either the 2X. This is Alex Hormozi from the $100 million offer and all the things. The most successful people are skilled at saying no to everything except for the one thing that matters the most in their business. There's only one constraint, and it's either supply constraint or growth constraint. Getting business or talent, or supplying what we do. Addressing that problem and putting that as 100% of our attention as possible is directly proportionate to our ability to grow. And then when we start solving those one problems, it's amazing. There's a book called The One Thing. And the book is really thin, and you don't need to read it because it summarizes everything into one question. What's the one thing that by so doing makes everything else easier or obsolete? So when we focus on the one constraint of our business and say no to the distractions, things start to expand. Over time, this is something I learned the hard way. Over time, it does start to create branches. And then from the outside, it starts to look like multiple LLCs, multimillion-dollar businesses. But there's always just one thing being solved at a time. When I sold my practice in 2018, I started 3 companies in 2 years. That was me not doing that. And it's exactly what you said it looked like. Overwhelmed, burned out. And ironically, when I started coaching and I started bringing in my focus into one thing at a time, one of my businesses failed. One of my businesses sold. And then as I grew the core business, then it started sprouting off new businesses, but outside looked the same, internally felt completely different, and profitability-wise, no compares, right? So yes, I would tell people to stop being distracted. That's like a CEO's mantra: stop being distracted, focus on the one thing. And what if you don't know what the one thing is? Focus on finding out what that is.
Yeah, until what point? Like, when does it all end? What do you mean?
Yeah, I don't know if at one point, but you're mentioning one business started branching off into other businesses.
Yeah.
Do you have anything around discerning whether that's a distraction or an opportunity with what?
Yes, great question. Great questions across the board. by the way, James. So what's great about that question is because what you're really talking about is clarity around vision and purpose. So purpose, why we do what we do.
Not shiny objects.
Right.
Purpose.
Right. So purpose, like, why didn't I just stay with my 5? I had a team of people when I had my PT practice. We had 5 locations. They were autonomous. I was making more money than I'd ever made and working less than 20 hours a week on what I loved. So why did I sell it? Right? Like, they wanted to expand to 20, 50 locations. That wouldn't have been easy, but like, why didn't I go that route? Because it was never my vision. I'm still that kid in high school with broken arms and legs. And then later an entrepreneur. My vision, my purpose, better put, is to build and strengthen families across the globe. But I look at those little work clinics as a family. I want to help the PT, OT leader solve those problems so they don't have to go home late at night the way I did with the beeping car. That's my purpose. That's, for me, it's about those families. And so the vision for me has expanded, and that's that vision. At a certain point, it becomes no longer about money. And I mean, we always say it's not, but like, the shift is that purpose and profits are the same, are two sides of the same coin, purpose and profit. At a certain point, you meet both, but the drive is less about the profit. Right now, money isn't what gets me excited. It's a proof that I'm fulfilling my purpose well. So for me, the vision expands. It's like, well, how else can we deliver on my purpose? And it's honestly just more fun. I've had more fun now than I've ever had. Easy. I have more freedom than I've ever had. So I choose with my spare time now to expand on the next constraint because it just feels right versus like, I want to make money. I live in a very modest home. I don't have a lot of possessions. My friends who think I'm successful come and see what I had and are like, well, you don't really, I'm like, it's not about that for me. Really what it's about is this bigger picture of just helping heal where I can. And so in a way, James, I've never felt like I stopped being a physical therapist. I started that journey because I wanted to help people's pain and improve their mobility and freedom. I'm just doing that in a much larger scale now. It doesn't look like massage. It looks like education. It looks like whatever service or product I'm using to help them. But I feel like I'm helping the owners help millions of people. And it feels pretty good. It's that little 17-year-old kid is I'm hoping, proud of what I'm able to do with it.
Yeah. I want to see if someone could relate to you or you could inspire someone to follow a similar path.
Sure.
Give us the checklist. I want to say at this part, kicked out for a year. Then you go into physical therapy. And that expounds into multiple ranches. We can call it locations.
Yeah, we've had 5 physical locations in Arizona.
Yep. Give us the rest of the checklist. Where else did that go from there?
Okay.
An exit.
So after I sold my practice in 2018, it was this period of time where we had recognized there was a lot of work that our whole family had put into me running this business. And so we decided to leave and just take 6 months off. It sounds really flashy, but we went to Europe for 6 months where we didn't work and we homeschooled our kids and just learned. But truly it was about healing. I wanted to create a different environment where we could just focus on ourselves and like the relationships. And it bonded my family in such a powerful way because we had, small living quarters. It sounds very flashy, but like food overseas isn't as easy as it is here. It was expensive. It was an investment. But we created our family values where we adventured and we toured. And after 3 weeks, the vacation ends and then you're living overseas. And then like the stuff boiled up in all the relationships from my marriage to each of the kids that I didn't even know was there. Because for the first time we had stopped and like caught our breath just to be together. So what started as like a break and something fun to do, it turned into this healing process of helping people just reconnect at the foundational level and say, I'm sorry, or address some habits that were being addressed and things that have been swept under the rug that we just pulled out and worked on. And that when we came home, I'll never forget for those first few months, every night, all 4 of my boys, they're teenagers now, you'd all like get into my bedroom and hang out and talk because we were so used to being in confined spaces and just connecting with it. There's nothing on TV, like we didn't have the cell phone action. So like, it was one of the most powerful, most wonderful experiences of my life. I always tell people that's one of the highlights of my existence was that was made possible because of all I had gone through in terms of growing, scaling, and selling my company. Yeah. So my business had some partners. There was lots of reasons, but my team knew the whole reason I was building my company, Bryce Rehab, was to create a platform for me to solve industry problems and healthcare and help healthcare at large. So when they wanted to expand to 100 locations and it was this, I realized if you're not growing or dying, it was like, well, no, I can't do both. I need to lead the charge to 100 locations or I need to find something else. So I exited. And so when I exited, the next thing I did, and this is the one thing I did things great and I did things poorly. Here's a smart thing I did, is I built my next companies around who, not how. So for me, it was like, I knew what the impact was. I knew what my purpose was. I just didn't know how to get between here and there. And my first company was a medical billing company. My old medical biller was available. We started a medical billing company. People kept asking me, hey, teach me how you sold your practice or teach me how to recruit. So I started 2 different coaching companies. And so one company helped represent companies when they were getting ready to sell their business. Another one was teaching people how to recruit. And along the way,
Recruit talent.
yes,
Okay.
recruit. So that's my superpower is recruit.
Okay.
Recruit, retain, and train.
Yeah.
So I was working with Brandon Craig. I'll never forget this. I was upstairs from where we are right now years ago. And I was telling him about the billing company idea that I just sold. And I was like, I told him about the billing company idea, these coaching ideas. And Brandon said this, when you're reinventing yourself, if you know where your purpose is and you know where your vision is, he goes, you just kind of work on it's always yes until no. You're in that state of discovery. It is a little chaotic. It's always yes until it's no. It's like you put tension here and here and here. And then he said this, one thing will stand out and that becomes the focal point. I don't agree on how I did. Yes. I said yes way too much. I don't know where that line is. I think you're going to ask me, but I just started helping people. They needed help. So I started a coaching company. They needed billing. Katie was available. And then all of a sudden I started hiring virtual assistants overseas to help me just manage my chaos. And recruiting is my jam. And so as I was hiring through an agency, I'm like, I don't need an agency. I started my own agency just to help me pull my head above water. And so I started that and all my coaching clients were like, hey, help me do that. And ironically, that's when I had the courage to say no. Like, no, I'm too busy. I've got too many other things going on. And they said, please, I'll pay you. And I said, what was that? So I turned around and I started piloting a program and it exploded. People were like, this is the best thing you've ever done for us. This is what we want you to do. And it was the easiest thing I'd ever done. And so I went, okay. Just like Brandon said, I said yes. And then all of a sudden this one thing took off. And then I ended up, like I said, consolidating all my efforts into what's now my company that's been around for 3 years. We're at 100% year over year. I am less busy.
You can't just say your company. What's the company?
Virtual Rockstar.
All right.
Virtual Rockstar. I didn't want to be all self-promoted.
Oh, no, this is a platform, please. And listen, for me, just personally, so I imagine anyone else that listens to it's going to find equal value. Sure. Or some value. We want to be able to help them find you so they can.
Yeah, and if I can help, and really, truly, if I can help, it's one of those things. So for me, again, it's so powerful because in that journey, we've gone to the Philippines year over year to be with our people. We've seen what we can do internationally. We've gone to Africa and started helping orphanages in this way of like helping them grow and develop. And so now we've created an organization. This is one of those branches that might feel like a lot, but it's a charitable organization called the Light on a Hill Foundation, where people in the United States and the Filipinos work together to help people in Africa overcome poverty. And like for me, I get up every day. I can't believe I get to help assist that. And by the way, the orphanages we're helping are orphanages where kids have severe mental and physical limitations. And so next year, I'm taking over 50 companies to Africa to help provide PT, OT, and SLP services to these kids who are just struggling with little to no care. And I can't help but go back to go, yeah, this is so much bigger than I could have ever dreamed. And it comes from focusing on what matters most, to having a clear purpose and a vision. When people come to me and they're like, hey, how do I build what you built or whatever? I just go, well, why do you want to build it? Because there's nothing wrong with being an employee in another company. We act as entrepreneurs like we have the monopoly of like amazingness, but it's like, I have some friends who are employees in companies who are totally happy, who their purpose and their vision is about a certain way of living. And that's just not me. It's not good or bad. It's just not me. I think I think we got to know what it is we really want, what drives us, and why we're doing it. And if we can get clear on that,
Lines. Yeah, for you and your camp.
right?
Hey, people will oftentimes see this a million ways to make $1 million as if we're promoting you ought to be making at least $1 million. And
Right.
it's like, well, no, please see that we are just using that as a benchmark to show what's possible. If that's what you want. If not, and it's anything less, then great, you should be able to, theoretically, be able to accomplish it easier or shorter or whatever it may be. But yeah, I think that social media can be a blessing and a curse from seeing what's out there and the facade of things, and it's wonderful all the time. Well, it's not. I don't speak with absolutes a lot, but in my experience, it is not all, what people may think it's cracked up to be. But if you can find the happiness in the journey,
Yeah.
along the way, then you can find a lot of magic in creation as you're pursuing whatever it is that's important to you or whatever you and your goals are.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to say what I love about what you said, James, is the reason I think I like even the name "A Million Ways to Make $1 Million" is because most people just don't give themselves permission to dream big enough. So again, to your point, we're not saying someone who doesn't want $1 million is less than. What we're saying is what's possible. And then you can choose. If people have the belief that they can achieve whatever they want, and then they choose a certain path, it doesn't matter what they choose, in my opinion, because at least they have all those options on the table available to them. But a lot of people, those people, in my opinion, myself included, oftentimes choose things based on scarcity, not believing they're capable or able. And I think that's what's great about shows like this. It's like, no, you can do whatever you want. There's a million, almost like there's a million ways to make $1 million, meaning not only is it possible, it's not any harder than any other path. It's just being clear as to what you want, right?
Yeah. I like where you're going with that. If I were to give you the proverbial soapbox right now to stand on,
Yeah.
what's got you fired up right now?
More than anything else, are these orphanages in Africa. Hands down. It's really powerful to me to see how.
Well, you're just one person. You can't impact a country or a village or even a body of people.
Totally.
You don't live in Africa.
Here's the thing is, that's the best part about this. It's not about me. You're actually not wrong. But see, what I physically embody is all the people who pour into me. My mom, my dad, my brothers and sisters, my colleagues, the network of people that I've served and have served me way more than I've served them. Great coaches like Brandon Crank. I am a product of those people. So to me, it isn't about me. I mean, technically on paper, it looks like I'm leading a charge. No. And what am I doing? That African proverb that I love so much. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. I'm just one piece of an amazing family effort. My current team, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing without my team. My Filipinos overseas who are serving the Americans, the people who come to my conferences, like, we're just all in it together. And so, yeah, I get to be a part of that. You know what I mean? So it really isn't about me. But for me to neglect anything that I could do because I'm just one person, oh man, I'm neglecting all the people who've poured into me all these years, right? Yeah, it's awesome.
From a selfish standpoint, for you specifically,
Sure.
we're on a platform. We hope to get as many eyes as possible on it. It's yours. You have it. What would you have people know right now about you or what you're working on?
I would want people to know that we really need to be in this entrepreneurial journey together, to reach out. Let's network. Let's create a community. And let's use 1 million ways to make $1 million to do it. Let's connect around these things because, again, the product is the money. And that's great. People say money can't buy you happiness, have never given it away, right? That phrase. For us, it's about that journey. The joy only comes when we're together. The word that's missing in today's young people, in my opinion, is belonging. Social media has created a world where they don't feel like they belong. But the same is true for us. If we can connect and belong and connect together along the way and help each other, it's almost like the destination is irrelevant, because in the path we can find the joy, and that's where I want people to.
Yeah. Where are people connecting with you? Where do they find you?
Yes. So I have a podcast, Willpower Podcast. I have find me on LinkedIn.
What platforms?
I want all the platforms. I have.
Willpower, that's a great name.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So Willpower Podcast is on YouTube. We're on Apple, all the different podcast platforms, but I've got all the socials out there as well. And I've got a team of people in the Philippines who are doing all my podcast stuff, so I'm everywhere.
Yeah.
They're posting a lot.
All over. As much as anything, I appreciate time, and being willing to come here to our studio and give it in person. That's a non-negotiable for me. I want to do these in person. I want to get to know people. I want to feel the energy from it. And there is an energy value.
Oh,
and I think that an instant like that, going through a year long, you're guilty, what you just worked for is most likely not going to work out for you. Whatever emotions could have come from a real life trial, I don't think anyone would have blamed you for laying off the gas.
yeah.
Like settling, not, quite having the same pep in your step.
Sure.
I got a friend Casey that talks about, man, you can shoot, he says something along the lines of like, when you can have life happen for you and not to you,
Yeah.
you can see it in a different light. And I appreciate that. This has been a week for us, not a lot of sleep, a lot going on.
Totally.
And just your vibe, your presence is giving energy. And I feel like that would translate to the team. And I hope that translates to anyone that's listening to this right now. And I hope people follow on the journey and go back and read some of the gratitude posts. And when you can just be around that type of energy, I can't help but believe that it creates momentum for people. I just, you said something about people following up from a homework assignment. There's a guy right now pursuing the placement funds as a landing spot. And I just said, hey, we're working on a few things right now. He's like, well, that's fine. What can I work on until you're fruit out? You have any books for me?
Yeah. Amazing.
Boom. Hey, I'm laughing as you're saying, hey, what, when they give you a synopsis on what they learned, just finished the third one in 3 weeks. Wow. So we're 3 weeks in, he's 3 for 3 on books, asking for a fourth, coming up with ideas. Like they're just some form of momentum around there. Leave someone with a homework assignment if you don't mind. Someone's listening right now. What homework assignment are you giving someone this week, this month to work on that you feel could have an impact for them, whether it's a book, a podcast?
Yeah, I think the book, there's a lot of directions when you said that I was thinking of. So let me just give people some options. Here's some optional homework assignments. Number 1, to really get clear on your purpose, your personal why. You can find your purpose through your history of your pain. These horrible things that happen to us, James, are the gift. As I think it's Jordan Peterson, who talks about how suffering without purpose destroys, but suffering with purpose refines. So we get to choose, in a sense, these horrible things that happen to us. So when we look backwards, in my case, taking a stand, learning to walk, like these elements are a pivotal part of why I exist. The second option you could do is to read a book. One of my favorite books of all time is Leadership and Self-Deception. This book has done more for me as a leader in my relationships than anything else. So I guess I'll give those two options.
Yeah, and if I could add one thing, because we share a friend, he's been shouted out a few times to this today.
You gotta talk about
Brandon Craig. He shared a message with me for useful or non-useful, not living a past-derived future. When you reflect on where you've been or what the last 5 years or 10 years or 5 months or 10 months has looked like, it doesn't mean that's you. Doesn't mean it's not useful to reflect on it and take what you've learned from it or even remember it. But it doesn't mean that it needs to be you for the next 5 months, 5 years, 10 months, 10 years, or whatever it may be. And, I wish we had more time to dive into What's going on while you're sitting there with broken legs, broken arm? What's going on when the FBI guy grabs you? I don't imagine that's gentle and guiding. I don't, what's going on in the deposition room, mentally to come on and just I'm just unlucky.
Yeah.
I just can't catch a break, or I can't. It doesn't mean it's not useful to remember what those times were like, but that does not you're not just going to live a life of bad luck,
Right.
or accident or misfortune. You can go create and have an impact on that. And I just want to say thank you again for your time, and thanks for being on A Million Ways to Make $1 Million.
Thank you, Jinx. I sure appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks.